Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It was kind of funny because Chris earlier today texted me and said, hey, Chris Nyheis can't make it. Do you mind like stepping in and talking about your experience with Vigilant? And I was actually said, yeah, I would actually love to do that because we've been a Vigilant customer for 4 years. I know Chris is like your customer number one, which in my mind always makes me think like unindicted co-conspirator number one. And I'm like, should my face be pixelated or something like that? But it is something where we had looked at the product a while ago, and now I'm going to make like a really obvious thing, right? Security is hard. It really is hard to do it right. I am in a CPA firm. We're about 200 people. My IT team is small. Like standing up a whole security team is just not something that we had the budget to do. So we looked around at a bunch of outsourced SOC providers, and I went to a bunch of peers in different groups and asked, what are you guys using? Who are you using? And I got some recommendations of things that I looked into, and they were like, they're great. You get a report every month about the users we created and what services are running, and there were things like that. And they were really impressed by that. When I investigated Vigilant and we started looking into it, I realized the reason that you hire Vigilant is because, one, the company is completely committed. Like everybody really wants to do security right. And I feel like we've actually got a partner that if we have an incident, they're going to do IR, they're going to help us clean everything up. They're not going to say, okay, we're going to need a retainer for this to do all this other extra work. And the other thing that I found with Vigilant is when you hire Vigilant, what you're really doing is you're hiring the best hunt team that you can get. If I could find an outsourced SOC that I thought had a better hunt team, I would hire them. And it really is something where our experience with Vigilant has been like tremendous. We have not had a breach. We did have one incident where, completely caused by me, might as well admit that right up front. I'm a member of InfraGard, so I get information from the FBI. If you are not a member of InfraGard, you should look into it. If you're here in Portland, Bob Brinker is the head of the Oregon chapter, and you should talk to him about it. It's a great public-private partnership where you can get information, privileged but non-classified information from the FBI. So I had gotten some information from InfraGard about some ransomware, and I had put some domains into our firewall to make sure that we blocked anybody trying to go to those domains since they were known ransomware domains. I got a call from Vigilant later that evening. You never want to get a call from Vigilant. You want to get an email, maybe, because that means like there might be like a low-level thing that has gone on, but you don't ever want to get a phone call, because if they call you on the phone, they're going to call you on your cell phone. They're not going to call you on work phones because your network might already be compromised. So I get a call, and they said, we're seeing some DNS traffic where this IP address is querying this IP address, and then we're doing DNS queries out to here to these known ransomware domains. Do you know anything about this? Yes, that was me. So like long story short, it ended up being something that we had put into the firewall. We were a Sonic Wall shop at the time. We had put it into the firewall. We were doing DNS lookups because the way that a Sonic Wall works is to keep that domain name in memory so it could constantly, make sure that nobody was going to it. It had to do all these DNS queries. So I was working with the Vigilant tech, and I was working with them like a partner. They were like somebody on my staff, like call them, investigate it. And I was like, okay, the way that the Sonic Wall works, this is what's going on. We got rid of the rules that didn't stop the traffic. We got rid of the objects completely, and the firewall traffic stopped. Incident closed in my mind. Not incident closed in Vigilant's mind, because they're on the hook if I am wrong on the information. The tech I worked with independently verified all the information that I had provided, made sure that their assessment agreed with my assessment of what was going on. Then they were almost willing to close the case, but they said, all that traffic is stopped and everything looks good, but there's still something from yesterday at this particular time, this particular IP address, where somebody went to one of those domains. Do you know what that is? What's the first thing you do after you have blocked domains in a firewall? You try and go there, right? So it was my machine that had actually triggered the last piece of it. And once we could actually verify what the last thing in their logs was that was causing a problem, then they were willing to close the ticket. So basically, once they had independently verified everything, because they were not going to take my word for it, that was when they were willing to close the ticket on the whole thing. This is why you hire them, because they have a hunt team that is finding these things. Like, as soon as we had the information from the FBI and we had loaded it into the firewall, they were loading it into all their sensors. So they had all that same information, and as soon as that came up, they were looking at things and blocking that traffic. And it's, again, they're the hunt team that we could never hire independently. I could never get people who were that good. If you look, again, they're all government. A lot of them have have IR, like digital forensic incident response certs from the SANS Institute. These are some of the best people that you could work with in doing threat hunting. That is not a team that I could ever build on my own. And if you have met Chris, he is a very, very intense individual. I mean, he's really, I really mean that in the best way, but this is more than a company. It really is a mission. It's something that he's very driven to do. And if you hear his story about when he was a CISO and how he ended up founding the company, because it was just really like, there has to be a better way to do network defense like this. So we partnered with them for 4 years. We're renewing again this year. It really is like, somebody on my staff at one point when we first implemented it, he said it really well. It was like, it's like having eyes in the back of your head. It's like you can go home and you can sleep at night because you know that somebody's actually looking at this. They're looking 24/7, 365. And again, if I could find a better hunt team, I would hire them. If you have any questions about my experience or want to talk about it at all, I am here for the next couple hours. So, but no, my experience has just been tremendous. And when Chris was like, hey, can you just come up and say some words, I would absolutely do it, because I will always stick with a vendor who I think is really doing a great job. I will never, like, and there are a couple other vendors in this room that I've said that to too. Like, if you ever need a reference, you know, come see me, because I really believe in the product, and I believe in the Cyber DNA project from Vigilant. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I will say, thank you, Phil. I'll say that he did test us a couple of times, and he is flagged red in our environment now. So that's it for us, guys. Thank you for listening to our story.